Wow, this feels great to be back. I've missed you guys a little too much. Um, Once again, I don't know where this episode is going to go. I don't know what I'm going to really talk about today. I have a couple of things, and I'm not entirely sure as to where it's going to lead. But this is probably just going to be more of like a train of thought, like stream of consciousness situation for today. If you know me personally or something, maybe give me like a little suggestion as to what I should talk about. Or if you don't know me personally and you're listening, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Let me know what you want to hear, because I'm starting to run out of things to talk about besides, like, I don't know, Taylor Swift, but I don't really feel like talking about that online because it's just like, I don't really want to feed into that. I'm very aware. I want to publicly acknowledge that I am aware of the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce rumors and whatever's happening there. But I won't talk about it because that's not my place to talk about those things. This is about me and no one else. So let's talk about me. Shall we? Couple new updates. I started my job. Remember, like 2 weeks ago, I told you guys I got a job. And that's partially why I didn't have an episode last week, was because I was like getting acclimated to my new schedule. But here I am, starting to figure it out. I just kind of want to talk. This is the first time I've ever actually had like a big girl job, like a 9 to 5, an 8-hour shift every day. And I remember whenever I worked at my part-time job at Home Depot, I like used to dread 8-hour shifts. But that was also because I was like standing on my feet all day, ringing out weird, creepy old men customers. And they would just like, I have so many stories. Maybe that can just be like a whole episode of what it's like working in customer service. It'll put some, what's that saying? It'll put some skin on you, or I don't know. It'll really toughen you up working in customer service. I once had, this customer who, he wanted to use this like store credit. It wasn't a you know how you can get store credit, like if you don't have your original receipt or something, whatever, you can get store credit to buy another thing. It's kind of like a gift card. And he had one, and this store and just Home Depot in general has had some issues with like people using that to like trade with, like someone will get, say a John Smith will get a store credit, and then John Smith gives it to Todd Doe, and now Todd Doe has John Smith's store credit, and he can't do that because we have to ask for the like their driver's license, that it matches up, because when you scan it, their name comes up, whatever. Am I allowed to be talking about this? I don't really know, but that's just like standard procedure. It's like whenever someone gives us the store credit, they're just like, I'm like, oh, can I see your ID? They know how it works. That's knowledge of the public. So that happened to me one time, and usually I have no problem with it. And it wasn't even really for a lot for store credit, but obviously I still had to because I was required to. And this man did not like the fact that I asked for his ID for it, because it was really like, I think it was maybe $5 or something. And I was like, yeah, I like explained the process to him and like why we need it, and he was not happy with it. And I was like, oh yeah, like what I just told you guys about how it like people use it as kind of like this, they'll like steal it or just sketchy shit. And the man was like, oh, is it because I'm black? Like, you have something against my people, da 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 da. And I was like, no, nope, that's really not the case. And then he started like yelling at me because he was like, I'm so offended. I can't believe that like I'm being treated like this. And I was like, no, it's I have no problem. I really, this is just a part of my job. I just have to do this. Call my manager over, and I was like, can you please help me? That's fancy. I was shooken up for the rest of the day and a couple days following. I could not. It was just like immediately terrifying, because I was just like, no, that's not me. Like, hey, I am an ally. I'm with you. But like, I just can't do anything past this transaction without like seeing your ID. So that was a little traumatizing. What was I talking about that? Oh, just like 8-hour shifts. Anyways, so now I work an 8-hour, well, technically 7.5 hours, but basically 8-hour shifts. But it's nice this time because I get to sit for most of it, which is really great, because I also have to like dress nicely. It's like business professional attire. And so I'm wearing heels most of the time. And so I don't want to be standing on my feet all day. I couldn't imagine working an 8-hour shift at Home Depot in heels. I barely survived in my orthopedic tennis shoes. So today I am grateful for office chairs. Early Thanksgiving gratuity. I am thankful for office chairs, and to a certain extent, because my lower back is starting to get a little wonkier than normal. But nonetheless, I shall persist for a paycheck. So like I mentioned, I have to dress kind of nice, and I am kind of loving it. And I know it's going to wear off at some point. I'm not looking forward to that part. And in that case, I'll just probably buy more clothes. But I also haven't bought anything because I've been unemployed and with very, very, very little money to my name. So I haven't been able to buy anything for a long time. So I feel like I'm kind of like I can consume a good amount. I'm not going to overconsume. I'm going to buy what I need and what I want. But I don't feel as guilty because I haven't bought anything in forever, like a long time. I don't need to justify myself. Whatever, dude. But anyways, new outfits make it really fun. It's like, the wide leg slacks. I've been on Pinterest, like winter business professional outfits, and I can't wait to like whip out like my nice camel colored coat and like wear my heels and walk downtown and just be like, and I'm watching Suits right now, so that's great because I'm literally just in my head, I'm like, I am Meghan Markle. I put on a blazer and I'm like, oh my God, I am Meghan Markle. Actually, there is one girl in my office who, she's so gorgina. She is Meghan Markle. I'm not Meghan Markle. I'm Donna. But she's so gorgina. Anyways, in my head, I like to think that I give off the presence of Meghan Markle in Suits whenever I put on a blazer, but that's probably not the case because I'm at least visually the complete opposite of Meghan Markle. So whenever I got this job, I was like, oh my God, I'm corporate Barbie. And I think that's kind of like my way to like get me up in the morning. Well, the first thing is like the fact that it's an excuse to like go get Starbucks or to have like a lot of coffee. Second, it's like a new character unlocked. I've unlocked a new character with my new job. And it's great. I mean, like this is all jokes aside, this is like a new chapter in my life, aka a new character unlocked. And I have so many more. I mean, I'm still young, obviously, but like, whenever you're in middle school or something, you unlock like the one who's being bullied character, or the bully character, or the band kid character, like all those stuff, because you're still really developing and progressing in your life and figuring out who you are. And I figured out who I am, I think, but now I have like a new persona I get to put on. Just what I needed, another persona to add to my many personalities that I have. Great. I have an episode that's been sitting in my like idea list for so long, and it's kind of about like and I know I'm not the only one who struggles with it, but it reminds me of Taylor Swift's song Mirrorball, where it's kind of like you shift your personality, or at least your behaviors, to certain groups of people in order to entertain them and please them and make them feel comfortable. And I also think that just might be a trait of being a woman, is when you walk into a room and conforming yourself into a space where you're digestible. And I don't even do it on purpose. It's just kind of like changing your stature and your vocabulary. And I notice it. Obviously, you know, maybe you act different around your parents than you do like your boyfriend or girlfriend or just like your friends. And then you act probably differently at work too. Like, you know, you can't just be talking about whatever at work, obviously. But it becomes to a point where I'm like, okay, so which version am I actually? Where, like, I am all of those people, all of those personalities and characters and personas. But it's like, which one do I like being the best? And is that like me at my core? And so I'm like writing all of this down like for an episode, and I'm like spiraling because I'm like, what is my purpose? And then I'm thinking about the Barbie movie, and I'm like, when did it end? All the enjoyment? It's not what I was made for. God, the line, I'm sad again, don't tell my boyfriend it's not what he's made for. Billie Eilish. What if I jumped off a cliff? What if I grabbed rope? I mean, what an insane line. Anyways, so yeah, I've unlocked a character. I just put, not just, but I put on, I've been doing better about putting sunscreen on my face, because I started to see like smile lines. Just another part of being a woman. Speaking of Barbie, it's just like ridiculous. I'm like, oh, I have smile lines because I'm happy and I am 23 years old and I've been smiling my entire life. Yeah, I'm gonna have a little crease there. It's like when you fold a piece of paper. You don't look at a piece of folded paper in half and you're like, ugh, that's ugly. But the second I see lines where my smile goes, I'm like, ugh, no. So, but I also know that sunscreen is also just like good, and skin cancer runs my family. Anyways, I'm oversharing. The reason I brought up sunscreen is because I have a terrible taste in my mouth right now. And this is what happens whenever I don't have like a structured plan and it's just bullet points of what's been happening. It's just I ramble and I overshare. And you're just gonna have to deal with it tonight. Currently, I might be thinking, Lily, what are you drinking? It kind of looks like a strawberry refresher. And to that, I say, it does look like that, huh? But it is Ocean Spray, white cran strawberry juice. And I drink an absurd amount of it. I know that's not healthy for me, considering there's probably a lot of sugar in it. I know there's a lot of sugar in it. But it kind of suppresses that craving of a strawberry refresher from Starbucks that I need to reevaluate my spending on Starbucks. And what's worse is that my building has a Starbucks. Yeah. Yep. Starbucks in the lobby. Yep. How unfortunate is that? But it is pretty cool because it's like growing up. I want to talk about my job a little bit more. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about specific, but whatever. For the longest time, I dreamed of like after college moving to New York. When reality set in of student loans and rent and how companies like don't pay you enough to live in New York whenever their office is in New York. So not quite sure how that adds up. And if you can't afford it, it's you living in a 300 square foot apartment, if that. So anyways, I've always wanted to like live in the city, but I think to make my way maybe towards New York, if I ever wanted to live there, I got to start at a smaller city. So I'm living in my current city. Well, I'm not living there, but I'm working there. And it's kind of like a little dose of city life, and it's kind of cool. I was so fucking nervous my first day, just not even like for the work part and like meeting all these new people, because I like to think that I'm pretty good with new people or like meeting new people. But I was more nervous about just like driving there and like getting there and rush hour traffic, but it all ended up being literally completely fine. I'm just was being a baby about it. And that's just called anxiety, actually. And it's so like it is cool to see how many people there are down there, and that's not even New York City. So it's cool. I'm enjoying it so far. Just know that. And I can be done talking about corporate America now. So, well, kind of not really, but now this is just more personal in relation to it. I'm getting adjusted to a sleeping schedule. And here's the thing. I wake up at 6 a.m. to start getting ready. And I know that's not that bad like compared to other people. My sister has to wake up at like 5:15 every day and drive a long time to get to her job too. So it's like, I could have a lot worse, but I haven't woken up at 6 a.m. since high school, middle school. And I forgot that it's a little sad and depressing when you wake up and it's still dark outside. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do this with the whole like driving an hour to work. So make sure if you want to see maybe one day a new setup whenever I move out, stay tuned. Follow the pod on Spotify and rate it. Just plug that in real quick. Follow the Instagram. Midway ad roll for myself. Yeah, so let's talk about how the sun's not even up yet. I don't know if that like will go away whenever the clocks change, whenever the fuck that is. I think it's soon, maybe. But then it's also like, okay, I want the sun to be up whenever I leave the house, but I also don't want the sun to be down when I'm leaving the office. So it's like, I can't really win. And I just like, no one should be allowed to get out of bed before the sun is up. And I like to think I'm like relatively a morning person, but if it's dark outside, I should be in bed. I should not be getting ready. I should not be in my car going to work whenever the sun is down and the moon is out. All the overnight workers are like, girl, you're telling us. You're telling us. I don't know how they do it, but I appreciate them. This episode's for them. The only time you should ever be awake or in the car whenever the sun is down is whenever it's like 2 a.m. and you're leaving for vacation and you're going to the airport. That is such a visceral memory I have. I can like smell it and I can feel it. It would cause me like a little anxiety because I was like out of my routine. But it was like a thrill. And then you get there and you like, whenever the sun's like kind of starting to rise a little bit and you're walking in the parking lot into the airport with your luggage. Oh God, there's nothing better than that. Oh good God, this next point. Are you bitches ready? All right. Because I'm not. So I've been on a little bit of a reading rut lately. I've only read like, I don't know, maybe 3 books this year, which is so sad. But I feel like I'm going to start getting better at it because not too long ago, I finished Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. And I was like, okay, yeah, like that was a good book. Like it was fine. And I was going to start reading The Song of Achilles. But I was like, I really don't want to read something like depressing right now. I want to read something where I'm like kicking my feet, I'm smiling, and I'm kind of in this different world. And I was watching Brittany Broski's, one of her recent episodes of the Broski Report. Great podcast, by the way. And she was talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses. And I have heard about this book, and I've heard her talk about it in that series. And I was like, I've just never really read a fantasy book, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to feel about it. Like, oh, like fairies are fucking, it's like kind of weird. And then I was in my sister's room, scrummaging through the closet because we share one because she's not here anymore. She's alive, but she just moved out. I saw the book in her room, and I didn't realize that she had it. And I texted her. I was like, can I please read this book? And she was like, absolutely, but good luck having it consume your entire life or getting anything done. And I was like, okay, great. This was about a week ago. And it like, I started my job exactly a week ago today. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to read it during the week because I want to completely dedicate, my thoughts and my efforts and my time to getting settled into this new job and a new routine. That's why I didn't have any, that's why there was no episode last week. And so on Friday, a couple days ago, I started reading the book. And I will admit, the first 20% of the book is rather slow because you're like, okay, what is going on? Like, I know that there's more because even when you read like the blurb that's inside the book, like the summary, it's like something's happening, but like give me the spice. And spice was given. It took a while, but guys, I started the book on Friday evening. I am now almost on page 300. I've never read a book this fast in my life. Actually, that's not true. I read Verity by Colleen Hoover in 24 hours. But besides the point, this book is enemies to lovers. But it's like, that they're going to fuck or they're going to become lovers. But I mean, and it's thinking about it right now. I got to the climax of the book basically. Well, maybe it's right before the climax point. And now it's God, I don't know if I won't give any spoilers because I hate whenever people do that and then I have to skip and then I don't skip farther enough and then I skip too far. So just know, if you like enemies to lovers like me, just know that you would like this book. I think Brittany said that the second book was the best, but also the third book is 700 pages. So I've never read a book that long. I know Harry Potter books are kind of that long, I think, or maybe longer. I never read Harry Potter books, but this is my Harry Potter. This is my Harry Potter. If they ever make A Court of Thorns and Roses into a movie, it could either be really, really bad or it could go fantastic and be everything I've ever wanted. Can I pronounce any of the names in the book? Not really. Am I saying anyone's name right in my head? Probably not. But I'm enjoying myself. And yeah, I'm a little over halfway through it. And I will keep you guys updated. And if anyone else is reading it, please let me know because or if anyone else has read it, I need to know. I need someone to talk to about this. I do have my sister, yes. But there are some parts I don't want to talk to my sister about it. If you know, you know. And just enemies to lovers in general, I do love that trope. I do. Don't get me wrong. Because it's oh, you hate each other because it's they're so opposite of you, but they get you that you hate them. And then you're wait a minute, they're kind of hot and I kind of like these different aspects. Maybe the reason I only hated them is because they have the parts that I hate about myself, blah, 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 blah. But I just want it to be known that enemies to lovers is like, that's not really a thing in real life. And maybe that's why I like it in the book, because it works. But like, do you guys remember whenever growing up, if you're a girl, growing up, even like parents and teachers were like, oh, if he's mean to you, like he has a crush on you. No, he's just a dick. He was literally just an asshole. That's crazy. Now, could that be the case in some instances? Sure. But anytime a guy was mean to me, we never dated. And he never confessed his love to me. He never saved my life or dedicated an entire art gallery to me. So, no, when a guy is mean to me, I'm just going to take it as he's an asshole. And we're not enemies to lovers. I don't want a guy that's going to be mean to me. Or like, I'm not going to, like, if I hate a man, like I hate a man. That's it. Point blank period. Maybe like if I act like I don't really like, no, that's just not even a thing for me personally. Could it be the case for some people where it's just like, you like hate them, but like low-key want to get married to them? Sure. But I just can't imagine like hating a man and being like, God, I hate the way that he, does things. Or he drives me insane. I mean, like, I get that thrill, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just not in that life, but I like to read about it for sure. There is that thrill in there that I get it. I was like literally kicking my feet in my bed, giggling, because I was like, oh my God, it's happening. And then this book also has like a strong female lead, which I love, because he's also like, he's obviously protective of her, and he's like the high lord. He's like the superior, but he never like tries to boss her around. But when he does, it's like because he's trying to protect her, and she's like, no, I can hold my own. And he's like, no, if I ever found anyone with laying a hand on you, it makes me feel sick. And I'm just like, oh oh, and I'm like, oh my God. And then she starts thinking, because it's in first person, and she's thinking in her head, and she's like, okay, like, fine, I guess I'll just like, someone told me to like stay with him and I'll be safe, so like, fine. And I'm like, yeah. Also, going back to like the actual plot of the book, the whole mask thing, I can't get into it. I know that's like some people's thing, but anytime she mentions that the main guy is wearing a mask, I'm just like, oh. I was just starting to forget about it, and now you brought it up again. Does anyone else, like, sometimes, and I don't know why, and I think this might just be the patriarchy seeping through my veins, like, when someone asks me my favorite genre of books, I always like try to avoid saying romance first, because it's like, obviously, yeah, I'm a girl, I like romance books because it is basically everything a woman wants in a man. That's just not realistic. I feel silly whenever I'm like, yeah, I like romance books. It's like, yeah, obviously, you're a 23-year-old girl. Obviously, I'm gonna like romance novels, but sometimes it just feels silly. But it's true. I do like romance novels, but not like Nicholas Sparks books. I'm talking like Sally Rooney, where it's just this gut-wrenching romance that's just, it can't work out, but it's like they're going back to each other, and it's just so real and raw. But then I also like books like A Court of Thorns and Roses, where it's just like, this romance, it's more than romance. It's also involves like kingdoms and shit. I'm starting to really get into that, because I've watched Game of Thrones and thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's like, why wouldn't I like fantasy novels? You know what I mean? Like, I've watched plenty of TV shows that are like categorically fantasy. So yeah, I have been missing out on the world of fantasy novels that also incorporate romance, Because I will admit, as much as I want to like be able to say that I read books that don't have like, I enjoy reading books that don't have romance in them. No, I need a little something going on in the background. I need something to follow that I can understand. Like I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It took me forever because there was no romance. Was it academically well written and phenomenally written? Yeah. But it's not keeping me on the edge of my toes like A Court of Thorns and Roses is. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's two completely different tiers. But I needed a little bit more. When there was like that slight romance with those two kids, I was like, oh, okay. Like, whoa, what's going to happen with them? But then that wasn't like the main plot of the story. And so I was just like, ugh, but what's going on with this person? Oh, is this person like, ugh, I needed a little bit more romance. It just keeps me intrigued as much as I want to be able to read like mystery novels or something. Like, no, I need it to be like mystery romance or historic fiction romance or something. Fantasy romance. Anything with romance I can get jiggy with. But I need there to be more substance. Not like Nicholas Sparks when I say romance. I mean like or like flat out like not safe for work romance. You know what I mean? Where it's like barely a book. But not 50 Shades of Grey because that's like cringy. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm not making any sense, but that's like, and how do I describe that to someone like an adult asking me what my favorite genre is? I'm just going to say, like, I like, romance and, like historic fiction. Da, da, da. No. I enjoy reading books that contain NSFW content because I'm a woman and I enjoy reading in public and having to look over and see if anyone's reading my book pages behind me on the subway station because I'm a girl and that's girlhood. Well, gang, the end has come. I've talked about all my points and more. And have I enjoyed my time with you? A little bit of a shorter episode, but that'll be nice for me in terms of editing and exporting because my MacBook basically explodes whenever I edit these episodes. It's literally a whole thing, but thanks for listening. If you want, like I said, you can follow the Instagram at Argue with the Wall. And hey, maybe like if you know someone who uses Spotify and listens to podcasts on Spotify, send them this podcast because as much as I appreciate all of my listeners, I do first and foremost, but it's getting to a staggering 80% of you listen on Apple Podcasts, and I can't have that. This is a Spotify distributed podcast show. Yeah, it's on everything else, but at the core, it is a Spotify podcast show. So, you bastards, listen on Spotify because it's just inherently better. And we know that this is how I feel. This is not new information. So, yeah, hopefully I have something to talk about next week. If not, I've also been thinking like maybe I'm getting, burnt out kind of with my ideas because I'm doing it every week and I might have to do like every other week. Also just in terms of my new like work schedule. So hopefully that doesn't like scare everyone off, but I'm thinking also like it's easier to keep up with a podcast where it's like not as like Emma Chamberlain's podcast, for example, she posts I think maybe like twice a week or something, and it's hard to keep up with that because it's like fuck, I have to listen to two. So I'm very behind on that podcast because there's so many. So I'm thinking maybe like every other week, but I don't know. We will see. We'll see how this goes. This is trial and error. Hang on tight because I don't know where it's going. So again, thank you for listening, and I love you all so dearly, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.